them, for you guys, and for what you did for me. I wouldn't be sitting here, and I wouldn't be the person I am today if it weren't for both of you teaching me that it's just a matter of being a good person in life. It doesn't matter what you choose to do with it, but just be honest, be good, and that's what both of you have done with your lives, and you live by example. So I couldn't love you anymore, and I couldn't thank you anymore on my own birthday for giving me everything that I need to know about living a decent life. So thank you for that.
Okay, well, we're not exactly done yet. Because I know that you're in the motherland, both of you, so we can't let you go without asking you a question about Russia.
Oh, great.
Okay?
Is it still there?
It's still there. Now, we know there are a lot of things that you cannot discuss, and we respect that because you're in that position, but since President Trump appointed you as ambassador to Russia, what are the top issues you are focusing on regarding our relations with Russia? Can you say anything about that?
Yeah, thanks, Joy. I appreciate that. Can I just tell you that it might come as a surprise that right outside of where we live right here, there are a lot of beautiful, wonderful, talented, brilliant Russians who hope for a better relationship with the United States. I think they really do care about that. And they live in a country that is 11 time zones long. It takes me 10 hours to fly from Moscow to our consulate in Vladivostok. And it's a country that touches Asia, the Middle East, Europe, and the Arctic. So the key to a relationship where we have some underlying irreconcilable differences, I mean, we just have some differences we're not going to solve anytime soon. And they deal with values, and they deal with our loyalty and commitment to NATO and our friends and allies. But what we can do to make the world a better, safer place, we can work on things like arms control, dealing with 90% of the world's nuclear weapons that are in the hands of both countries. That'd be a really good thing for safety and security of the world. We can do things like finding where we have overlapping and common interests, like working together on denuclearization in North Korea, working on solving issues in Syria, and ultimately hotspots like Venezuela. It's a big challenge, there's no doubt about that, and I too get acid reflux disease working on these issues, but that's where we want to take the relationship.
Well, before you go, I'd like you to add paper ballots back instead of electronic. Anyway, I understand you sent a special birthday gift for Abby. Yes. Is that correct? Is anybody bringing it out?
Oh, that's so sweet. Are these from Russia? Oh, those are so beautiful. My mom always says, she always reminds me that yellow is the sunshine in your life. And so when I used to do the overnight shift at Fox, I was up at all nights doing news reads, and she would always send me yellow and just say, just remember, no matter what time of day it is, if you're killing yourself at work, just remind yourself that it's still important to be happy. Oh. That's my mom for you.
Wait,
nice.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah. One yellow for you, Abby. So, thank you.
John and Mary Kay, you're doing the Lord's work in the city of Satan. Thank you so much for your service to our country. That is a rough job. And I, for one, as an American, am grateful that someone like you is doing it. Happy birthday, Abby.
Thank you. Love you so much,
Happy
Abby.
So
birthday, Abby.
thanks
Thanks,
to John
everybody.
and Mary Kay Huntsman.
Great
We'll
honor
be
to be
right
able to
back.
join you.
Bye, y'all. Now, some people wonder what fashions they've aged out of as they get older. And an ex-Vogue editor has strong feelings about it. She had the nerve to criticize 50-year-old supermodel Helena Christensen for wearing a bustier, saying, "We might like to think 50 is the new 30, but our clothes know the full story."
Here's the thing, Whoopi.
Yeah?
At 50 is when you need a bustier.
Right?
That's when those puppies start drooping.
But those puppies look fine in that bustier.
They look pretty good.
Well, yeah.
She looks...
And more importantly, she's comfortable. So how dare you, you know, try to bring her down? What do you look like in a bustier? I know I can't pull it off.
Yeah, you can.
No, oh, no.
Pull it up.
They'd be like this. The bustier would be like that. Be totally top. It'd be a whole thing. Then you could spin it. It'd be like, you know. But I mean,
Oh, my God.
in this era,
a forklift.
child, you need more than a forklift. But in this day and age, when women talk about,
I know.
hey, we're trying to bring each other, or pardon the pun, boost each other up.
Yeah.
Why would you write something like that?
Especially an ex-Vogue editor, and she's 61 herself. And, you know, I just think you have to be comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah.
And as a woman, we are constantly knocked about our looks. We are constantly told what looks good, what doesn't. We're shamed for it.
Yeah.
And so for one woman to be doing that to another, it's kind of sickening. I know when I turned 50, I did have some people saying, well, you know, you got to be careful with like the lingo you use, because I like to say things got lit, which is something that I learned from my kids. And people are like, you know, that's like too young for you. And that
No,
that
you know what it
may
is?
be
It's
too
not that
young.
it's too young for you, but when you're talking to people who are of equal age, they don't know what you're talking about.
That's true.
Maybe that's what
So
it is.
that's what it is. People
Yeah,
want you to
that's what it
communicate with them in ways that they
your
understand.
My girlfriends
okay.
know.
Yeah.
Your
But-
kids know, but
So,
you,
and my girlfriends know,
I
but it's
really
surprising
hate
to me that she did
fashion editors in general. Some of the worst experiences of my life have been photo shoots with fashion people that somehow magically in the world can't find my size. Can't find a 12. It doesn't exist.
I got
And so I know Whoopi's WG new line of clothing will have it. Thank
That's
you very
right.
much coming out.
That's
but
right.
there is a arrogance to people in fashion that I have always hated. If you, God forbid, are oversized too, God forbid you're of a different color, different race, whatever, you don't fit in this box. And by the way, I got my nails done next to Helena Christensen one time, and I could not stop staring at her. She's that
Yeah,
gorgeous in
she's-
person.
She's
so
beautiful.
please agree.
Yeah.
Take many seats, Vogue, in many ways right now. I don't have time for it.
It's horrible.
I don't think I could get that. I couldn't get the bustier over my big toe right now. Like,
Yeah.
you just kind of know.
you and a bustier
I'm
probably is
doing
not
that.
the one thing
She
I
looks
want to say.
beautiful, but I will say the one piece of clothing that bothers me, no matter what age you are, is the booty short, you know, where you got the butt cheeks that are hanging out.
If you got the butt cheeks to hang out,
Then do it.
and you are comfortable in your body, in your little bit of pants, you know, here's the thing. Fashion is what makes you comfortable. This idea, you know, Kristen Siriano and many other folks in fashion
Give
now
him another
are
loud
looking,
shout out.
You know,
Yeah.
are looking to see how to incorporate everyone in fashion, because not only do they want you to look good, but they want their clothing to sell. They want to sell clothing, and people want to wear things that make them comfortable.
Your butt's hanging
My
out.
philosophy-
Listen, if you have the butt that does that little half moon thing, and it's, you know, I don't. Mine is very messy. Very messy.
You know, I really think that everybody has something to offer, and you should use what you have.
What do you have, Joy? What do you think is your...
Feet. You have the
Hello?
Right? Hello.
Hold on. We want to say a big welcome to
What?
the new people in our neighborhood. So you made me stop what we're talking about to get to this? Yeah.
Why? What
For
is
the
it?
record, I had one
Why?
more talking point on this
Me
topic.
too.
And
Yeah,
so
people
did
had
suddenly
stuff-
We haven't
put
heard
it
about
away.
this.
Well,
Anyway.
here's the thing.
Brian.
It's a whole thing.
The Emmys
Okay,
are
let
on
me
Sunday,
just
and
do
he
it.
really wants
Let me
one.
do it. Let me do it really fast.
Sorry.
As of today, 63rd Street and Broadway in New York City has been officially renamed Sesame Street. The whole gang is at a Sesame Street ceremony right down there right now, and I guess we'll be back. Welcome back. See if you can help this guy out, Abby. Guy took to Reddit to ask if he can tell his pregnant wife to move out. Yeah, he claims she's always pissed at him, constantly insulting him, and even had a random girlfriend flirt with him at the gym to test his loyalty.
No.
What would you say?
Can you imagine
No.
sending out a friend of yours just to see if your husband
She
takes
can.
the bait? I thought you would do that. You totally
I wouldn't
do that.
you know why I wouldn't do that? Actually,
Because
I
he
think
knows all of them.
I don't think you do that, because if you start looking through your spouse's things and you
Yeah.
start trying to set them up, you already must know there's a problem, or you're too
So
insecure
true.
to be in that relationship. So I wouldn't do something like that, but I would tell that guy he needs to move out maybe then. I
You
don't
know what, though? This reminds me, I have not tested my limits of my hormones.
No.
There's a lot more I can get away with that I have not.
No.
Right? When you're pregnant, when you are that time of the month, whatever it is, as women, no men will fully understand what you
Yeah.
go through.
Well,
The
that's
emotional roller coaster, the pains.
That's
right
true.
now, for the next few weeks until the babies come, it's like Christmas morning every day. It's
Yeah,
whatever the heck I
that's true.
want, you know?
That's
So give me some advice.
And maybe he's not doing
anything I
that
can do.
for her. Maybe he's not
Yeah.
doing that for her.
Or maybe he's just tired of getting his behind kicked every day.
Every day.
I mean, because we do have these hormones. You know, one of the things that I find with a lot of men, they don't actually understand women's bodies. So whether you're going through menopause or you're pregnant and your hormones are moving, they don't understand. They take it upon themselves and think that you're, you know, oh, you don't want to have sex with me. No, actually, it's my body is changing, and you have to get on board with this. You know, you have to follow what happens to us. If you want to have a good, calm life with your female partner, learn about her body, because her body is going to take her places where she doesn't even know she has
Exactly.
to go. And so you need to be on board with that, or you can't be in a relationship, because all this happens to all women.
Yeah.
We all, our hormones do it.
And you have no control over it either.
No.
All of a sudden, you could be in the best mood, and then you're like, I feel like
In
I could
tears.
just
Yeah.
blow everything up right now. Yeah.
Sometimes you're hot,
Joy's always hot.
I'm always
it's
hot.
cold,
Or cold.
you're dry, all kinds of things
The
happen.
things. And you can't control it. I think that's the big part of it.
But if my husband
Control
sent,
would.
if my
Sorry, I'm
husband
still
sent some
stuck
guy
on
to
dry.
test out my loyalty, I think that would probably be the end of it.
That's a
I think
problem.
that's a much deeper issue in their marriage.
Well,
probably.
people,
Lack of trust.
but people do it. People go through their partner's phones all the time. And I always say, well, you get exactly what you got.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
deserve what you got. If you can't go
I
to the
don't do
partner
that,
and
yeah.
say, I'm
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Are you fooling
Yeah.
around? What's happening?
My line with looking through someone's phone, because I had a girlfriend do it with her boyfriend recently, is much like polls. If you look in the right ones, you can find out whatever you want validated.
right.
So look in all the cravels of someone's phone, you can find something you don't like.
Yeah.
I can
one
see
way or
it.
another.
I can see it a little bit because, like Sunny, let's say Sunny, she's a little bit of a jealous person. We can agree on that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but Manny is a good guy. She can have a jealous moment, set him up, and then find out there's no reason to be jealous, and everybody's
Would
happy.
you
Then
set
why
Steve
waste
up?
all that time?
But you
Well,
wouldn't
because
have-
just to satisfy this horrible part of
Get a chicken.
That's right. Get a chicken. By the way, I'm getting 6 more chickens
We'll
made.
be right back.
This week, get ready for a sizzling political view. Plus, anything goes with Rebel Wilson. And the fabulous Diane Sawyer is bringing her view. It's all this week on The View on
Skin that looks younger than it should. Fact check this ad in Good Housekeeping. Olay Regenerist. Now, try Olay Hydrating Eye. Hydrates better than the #1 prestige eye cream.
An overlooked condition at birth
The ones that were pegged with the child that had colic.
could lead to a costly misdiagnosis. Local 10's Christy Kruger exposes a medical condition that, if left untreated, may lead to future problems. The easy procedure that can turn it around. Tonight at 11, Local 10 News covering the crisis in Venezuela.
We have been seeing gunfire on that bridge.
Local 10's Cody Weddle continues to report the political standoff, mass migration, and chaos from the borders in Bogota, Colombia. The one and only Local 10 News, Colombia, Venezuela.
John Doe. That's no John Doe. You just saved the fire chief of Seattle.
The Grey's Anatomy Station 19 crossover event is the most powerful 2 hours of the season. Thursday, starting at 8/7 Central on ABC.
Welcome back. The Washington Post compiled a list titled 10 Things to Lose in 2019, which includes astrology, school portraits, and perfume.
That's for you. That one's for you, Whoopi. She hates perfume
I do
on
too.
anybody.
I don't like it either.
It's not that I hate perfume. I don't like when people don't realize that their perfume has come into the building
Yep.
while they're
Unannounced.
still around the corner.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Because then people hug you and then you're wearing it.
Yes.
I don't know. Perhaps if you can't smell how you smell, you need to go to the doctor because all your hairs have been burned away.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, and
I
people
agree.
don't buy always the best perfume. And it's like dot, the dot, you know. And if you know, lucky you can do a little dot right there. Not,
I know. I know.
you're not
But once
pasta.
perfume is on you, you don't. I have perfume on today, and I don't smell it on myself.
I don't smell.
No,
I'm just like,
no,
ooh,
I don't
can't do
smell
it.
you.
No, you don't.
Smell you
No.
either.
Or when you
Sometimes I smell you.
But I'm gonna give you a shot, a chance to smell me.
No, right?
I can't smell it.
I do.
You do?
I'm
I don't.
You don't.
I don't
See,
smell it.
you've lost
I
the
smell
ability to smell perfume. It's a miracle.
No, I haven't.
No, she usually does. I mean, during the morning meeting, you were like, "Can you smell me, Sonny?" I'm like,
Yeah.
Or when you go out for a
It's not
smoke break,
offensive
when
perfume.
someone comes in from a smoke break and they try and cover it up with cologne.
Yeah, you
or
can't do
perfume,
that.
and
You
it's like
can't
that
do that.
doesn't make it any better.
Yeah.
You know what else is on this list? Is bacon. Who the hell
I know.
wants
Put it
to
on
lose
bacon.
bacon?
Well,
No.
it's got all those things in it.
So is using the word double down. Give me a break.
If you're gambling, what else are you supposed to say?
Exactly.
I don't want to lose astrology personally.
Me
I do.
neither.
I don't
I don't
wanna
need
lose
that.
People live by that.
Astrology
I like
is
it.
pseudoscience. It leads to these anti-vaxxers, which leads to measles.
No.
Astrology leads to anti-vaxxers.
It's
Pseudoscience. It's all part
it
of
is
that.
pseudoscience.
It's
but-
pseudoscience.
But if your
Did she
son,
just
Yes.
she did.
Okay.
She did. But if you're like a Libra, but your sun is rising in Scorpio, and then something's happening,
And if you're-
I was surprised.
So we want to bring in our team right now. Our chief legal analyst, Dan Abrams, has been watching this with us here on the desk in New York. And we have this letter from Robert Mueller that he sent a mere number of, 3 days after Barr's summary. And he said that this is a misrepresentation, if you will, of what the Mueller report had found. And now we hear from William Barr this morning, who right out of the gate said that Robert Mueller did not decide on obstruction of justice, not because of precedent from the Department of Justice, but that fights some of the language we saw in the Mueller report itself.
Yeah, look, if you read the Mueller report, there are 4 guiding principles at the outset of the obstruction section. And the first one is we can't indict a sitting president. The third one is we don't even think it would be appropriate to accuse the president of a crime in this report because he can't respond. And the fourth one is, but if we thought we could clear him, we would. That's what the report says. Now, with regard to this letter that Mueller wrote that seems to express frustration with William Barr, Barr responded to that and said that it was not about the letter. He said he talked to Robert Mueller, and Mueller actually said it was about the media coverage of the letter. He says that Mueller claimed that his letter and his press conference was not inaccurate, that he did not misrepresent the report. And this sort of creates a situation where Robert Mueller has to testify now, because now we have Barr saying what Mueller thought, what Mueller said to him beyond this letter. And if there was ever a question about whether Robert Mueller should testify, William Barr just answered it by saying, this is what Mueller thinks, this is what Mueller said to me beyond the letter.
But again, remember, Robert Mueller was reacting specifically to William Barr's summary in his letter when he said that it did not fully capture the context, nature, and substance of this office's work and conclusions. He was not talking about the press there in that letter. He was talking about William Barr's summary.
Correct. But what Barr is saying is no. He was talking about the media coverage. So Barr has now created, and I have to say that the moment that Barr came out, I thought that there was a conflict between Mueller and Barr as to what to do. And I think it is now entirely clear that there is a conflict between Barr and Mueller that has to be assessed.
It certainly raises the stakes to get Robert Mueller up on Capitol Hill. There's already reporting that Mueller wants to, that the Department of Justice hasn't set a date yet for Robert Mueller's testimony. That is still being reported out. In the meantime, this was another moment with William Barr. He said that when the special counsel turned over the Mueller report, that we thought the grand jury testimony, the 6E testimony, would have been redacted right at the get-go. He said what was handed to us was not prepared in that fashion. I thought that was a bit of a dig to Robert Mueller's team.
It was a dig, but Mueller's team's response would be, that's why we created summaries. We created summaries so you could release those to the public. And it sounds like, even from Barr's testimony, that's what Mueller wanted. Mueller wanted those summaries to be released because he felt that they could more accurately characterize what was in the report. And Barr even said, I said to him, no, I don't want to release summaries. I want to just release the whole report. And the problem with that is, on the one hand, you have Barr summarizing, but unwilling to release Mueller's summaries. And so you have Barr's summary, not Mueller's summary, being released, and Barr saying, I don't want to release summaries.
You've got right in the letter from Robert Mueller that was made public last night and the full letter today. I am requesting that you provide these materials to Congress and authorize their public release at this time. And that is direct reference to those introduction and executive summaries that had been prepared ahead of time, redacted ahead of time, with the hope from Robert Mueller that they would be released immediately. And as you point out, Dan, they were not. William Barr decided not to. He instead decided to issue his own summary. He then talked to Bob Mueller on the phone, said, Bob, what's the problem here? Bob indicated again, we prepared those executive summaries, and William Barr decided to let his summary speak for the Mueller report for a matter of weeks before the public saw the unredacted version, which is why I want to bring in our senior White House correspondent, Cecilia Vega, because for weeks, William Barr's word was the final word, until we had the Mueller report itself, which allowed the president to go out there and say, I've been exonerated.
That's the big picture, the takeaway in all of this today, David. Look, the Attorney General at this moment right now is facing very serious new questions, renewed questions about his credibility. And now that we know about this letter, this confrontation that has happened between the Attorney General and Robert Mueller, this gave, just as you said, President Trump and the White House and his allies weeks to sort of set the message, to sort of set the agenda, if you will. The Attorney General really created the impression that Mueller's team found no wrongdoing. And then we later came to find out that that is not at all what the report concluded. And just as of 2 hours ago, President Trump was tweeting these words that we have heard him say so many times before: no obstruction, no collusion, complete vindication. That's been their narrative. And in many ways, it was a gift from the Attorney General. I think there are some questions right now about whether the Democrats will certainly ask them about whether this is the Attorney General acting as the Attorney General of the United States or the lawyer for President Trump.
Or the lawyer for President Trump, because remember, Bob Mueller said in his report that if we could exonerate him, we will. He did not. Senator Leahy's now asking the question of the Attorney General. Let's listen in.
That was the time to pull up.
Okay. There have been a number of leaks coming out of the Justice Department and FBI during high-profile investigations. The Inspector General found that during the department's investigation of Hillary Clinton for mishandling highly classified information, there was a culture of unauthorized media contacts. During the Russian investigation, the leaks continued. Leaks undermine the ability of investigators to investigate. Further leaks to the papers while Congress's questions to the department go unanswered is unacceptable.
Obviously, Senator Leahy will be coming after Senator Grassley, who is asking right now about leaks and connections with media from the Department of Justice. Let's listen.
The Russian investigation.
We have multiple criminal leak investigations underway.
Thank you.
Senator Leahy.
Thank you, Attorney General. I'm somewhat troubled by your testimony here and in the other body. You appeared before the House Appropriations on April 9th. You were asked about media reports that portrayed the special counsel's team as frustrated that your March 24th letter didn't adequately portray the report's findings. When the congressman, I believe it was Congressman Chris, asked if you knew what those members of the special counsel's team were concerned about, you testified in response, "No, I don't." You then said you merely suspected they would have preferred more information was released with the letter. Now we know, contrary to what you said on April 9th, that on March 27th, Robert Mueller wrote to you expressing very specific concerns that your March 24th letter, remember you're testifying on April 9th, that your March 24th letter failed to capture to quote Mr. Mueller, the context, nature, and substance, close quote, of his report. And what really struck me, Mr. Mueller wrote that your letter threatened to undermine a central purpose for which the department appointed the special counsel, to assure full public confidence in the outcome of the investigation. Why did you testify on April 9th that you didn't know the concerns being expressed by Mueller's team, when in fact you had heard those concerns directly from Mr. Mueller 2 weeks before?
Well, as I said, I talked directly to Bob Mueller about his letter to me and specifically asked him what exactly are your concerns? Are you saying that the March 24th letter was misleading or inaccurate, or what? He indicated that it was not. He was not saying that, and that what he was concerned about...
That wasn't my question.
Well, I'm getting to the question, which is the question from Christ was, reports have emerged recently, press reports, that members of the special counsel's team are frustrated at some level with the limited information included in your March 24th letter, in that they don't adequately or accurately portray the report's findings. I don't know what members he's talking about. I certainly am not aware of any challenge to the accuracy of the findings.
Mr. Barr, you seem to have learned the filibuster rules even better than senators do. My question was, why did you say you were not aware of concerns when weeks before your testimony, Mr. Mueller had expressed concerns to you? I mean, that's a fairly simple...
Well, I answered a question, and the question was relating to unidentified members who were expressing frustration over the accuracy relating to findings. I don't know what that refers to at all. I talked directly to Bob Mueller, not members of his team. And even though I did not know what was being referred to, and Mueller had never told me that the expression of the findings was inaccurate, but I did then volunteer that I thought they were talking about the desire to have more information put out. But it wasn't my purpose to put out more information.
Mr. Barr, I feel your answer was purposely misleading, and I think others do too. Let me ask you another one. You said the president is fully cooperating with an investigation, but his attorney had told a defendant he'd be taken care of if he didn't cooperate with the investigation. Is there a conflict in that?
I'm sorry, could you just repeat that?
Both Mr. Manafort and Mr. Cohen were told by Trump's personal attorney they'd be taken care of if they did not cooperate. You said that the president was fully cooperating. Is there a conflict there? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. Do you think it's fully cooperating to instruct a former aide to tell the Attorney General to unrecuse himself, shut down the investigation, and declare the president did nothing wrong?
I don't think, well, obviously, since I didn't find it was obstruction, I felt that the evidence could not support an obstruction.
I'm asking if that's fully cooperating. I'm not asking whether that's obstruction. Is that fully cooperating?
Yeah, he fully cooperated.
So by instructing a former aide to tell the Attorney General to unrecuse himself, shut down the investigation, and declare the president did nothing wrong, that's fully cooperating.
Where is that in the report?
That is on Volume 2, page 5. On June 19, 2017, the president dictated a message for Lewandowski to deliver to Sessions. The message said the Sessions should publicly announce that notwithstanding his recusal from the Russia investigation, the investigation is very unfair to the president. The president did nothing wrong.
Right.
Okay, so cooperating?
Well, firstly, asking Sessions to unrecuse himself, we do not think is obstruction.
And declare the president did nothing wrong. I'm not asking whether it's obstruction. Is it cooperating?
Well, I don't know if that declares the president did nothing wrong, although the president, in terms of collusion, did nothing wrong. Isn't that correct?
No, collusion is not a crime. It's the obstructing. But is that fully cooperating to say that?
Well, I don't see any conflict between that and fully cooperating with the investigation.
The president, of course, declared many times publicly in tweets and at campaign rallies and all that he would testify fully. He never did testify, correct?
As far as I know.
Well, I think you know whether he testified or not.
As far as I know, he didn't testify.
And Mr. Mueller found the written answers to be inadequate. Is that correct?
I think he wanted additional, but he never sought it.
And the president never testified.
Well, he never pushed it.
The president never testified. Does the fact that Mr. Mueller found the Trump campaign was receptive to some of the offers of assistance from Russia, or the fact that the Trump campaign never reported any of this to the FBI, does that trouble you?
What would they report to the FBI?
That they were receptive to offers of assistance from Russia.
What do you mean by receptive? I think the report says, obviously, obviously they were expecting to benefit from whatever the Russians.
Page 173, the volume 1 report says, in sum, the investigation established multiple links between Trump campaign officials and individuals tied to the Russian government. Those links included Russian offers of assistance to the campaign, and in some instances, the campaign was receptive to the offer, whereas others they were not.
Well,
that doesn't bother you at all.
Well, I have to understand exactly what that refers to. What communications that referred to.
Well, you have the report. I just gave you the page for the report, and I know my time is up, and I'm making the chairman nervous.
No, just Senator Leahy there with Attorney General William Barr up on the Hill today in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. A fairly testy moment there between Senator Leahy and the Attorney General. He pointedly asked the Attorney General about his testimony on April 9th, which we now know was several days after the Attorney General talked directly with Robert Mueller. William Barr was asked why did he tell Congress and the American people that he did not know the concerns of Robert Mueller's team. There had been reporting that several members of Robert Mueller's team were unhappy with William Barr's testimony. Why did you say you did not know if you had spoken directly with Robert Mueller? And you heard what William Barr said there in his answer to Senator Leahy. He said, well, I talked to Bob Mueller himself, not to the members that were talked about in that reporting. A very nuanced answer. And Dan Abrams, it sounded to me as though he was splitting hairs there, saying, I didn't talk to members of his team, so I didn't know why they were upset. I talked to Bob Mueller himself.
Look, it's a very lawyerly answer, right? And this is why I don't think they're going to be able to truly kind of prove that Barr, quote unquote, lied, right? Because I think that there'll be an explanation for every one of Barr's comments about the Mueller investigation.
And he knew exactly what those questions were going to be coming at him today, asking about his testimony just several days back. I do want to bring in our senior congressional correspondent, Mary Bruce, because not only was it the exchange with Senator Crist of a couple of weeks back, there's also an exchange with Senator Van Hollen, and he said, did Bob Mueller support your conclusion? And Mary, you'll remember at the time that William Barr said, I don't know whether Bob Mueller supports my conclusion. And you talked to the senator today. He said he believes William Barr was deliberately misleading the American people.
No plan. Yeah, David, the senator tells me that he has no doubt that that was a deceptive answer from the Attorney General, that the Attorney General was misleading not just Congress, but the American people. But there is an important distinction here. Democrats that I've talked to here this morning say that they believe that the impact of Barr's comments, Barr's previous testimony was misleading. But when I ask if they think that the Attorney General outright lied or perjured himself, well, they're stopping short of going that far. David, the big picture, the view from Democrats up here on the Hill is that this letter, these new questions that have come out of the revelations about Mueller's complaints about the way that Barr handled his report, that all this does is underscore Democrats' concern that they say that the Attorney General is essentially doing the president's bidding, that he's trying to protect the president. It is why you are seeing Bill Barr be grilled so aggressively on his interactions with Mueller, on his handling of this report. And it's also why you're now seeing a growing number of Democrats here say that Bill Barr should resign and that they need to hear directly from Mueller testifying here on the Hill as soon as possible, David.
All right, Mary Bruce right outside that hearing room. And just to sum this up for you at home, why this matters today, it is the Attorney General William Barr on Capitol Hill answering questions about the decisions he made after being given the Mueller report after that 2-year investigation. Mueller, of course, finding no collusion with the Russians between the Trump campaign, but left open the answer on obstruction of justice. William Barr then went and answered that, clearing the president. He is the Attorney General. That is his job and his prerogative to do that if he decides to do so. He'll be questioned today about whether or not that should have been handed to Congress instead, given some of the language in the Mueller report. And of course, in the 11th hour before today's testimony, that letter from Robert Mueller, now made public, sent to William Barr just days after the William Barr summary, that initial 4-page summary, Robert Mueller making it very clear he was displeased with how Barr summarized his report. We'll continue our reporting on this. If there is more major news out of this hearing, we will break back in live. In the meantime, our coverage continues live at ABC News Digital and on abcnews.com. For Dan, Cecilia, Mary, and Pierre, thanks to you all, and we'll see you later on World News Tonight. Take care.
This has been a special report
Report from ABC News.